Good morning, friends. Let us discuss paper 3. The topics include justice, equality, rights, and democracy. The first question is: to what extent Rawlsian goal of achieving social justice depends on overarching consensus among cultural, religious, and ideological groups? Explain. So here you have to start with the introduction of Rawls. And in introduction you can write that Rawls is one of the greatest philosophers of 20th century, and the reason is he has been given the credit for the revival of political theory. And then you should write the importance of the idea of justice. And then you should write about Rawls' objective, that Rawls wants to give a universally applicable theory of justice which people belonging to any society find it rational. And then you highlight the key points of Rawls' theory of justice as fairness and the three principles: maximum, equal liberty, equality of opportunity, and the difference principle. And then you should bring communitarian critique of Rawls, and they believe that Rawls does not give importance to the differences, and his theory cannot be universally applied because people have different cultures. And then you can mention the critique of Rawls' theory given by communitarians like Michael Sandel. You can mention his book Liberalism and Limits of Justice and Michael Walzer's book Spheres of Justice. Both these scholars emphasize on the importance of culture as well as the necessity to have different notions of justice. So you can say that the main theme in the question, that from communitarians point of view, only when people have an overlapping consensus, then only this can be a universally applicable idea of justice. And then you can mention that Rawls has revised his argument in his book Political Liberalism and has accommodated these arguments, and he restricts his theory of justice to the political sphere and only for the societies having liberal democratic culture. Now, the second question is: we believe that as a matter of principle, each member of society has an inviolability founded on justice. So, again, you can write about Rawls, and however, the focus of this question is the context of Rawls theory, and the context of Rawls theory is the criticism of utilitarian theory of justice. In utilitarianism, the importance of human dignity is not taken care of, rather it is being compromised, and Rawls' theory of justice emphasize on this. Then again you mention the three principles of Rawls and emphasize on how Rawls tries to make a balance between the desert, merit, as well as the need, and emphasize on the necessity of human dignity. You can bring forward the concept of that Rawls says that society is like a chain where the weakest link is as important as the strongest link. So this is also, you can appreciate Rawls that he has re-established the centrality of human dignity as one of the foundational principle of justice. Now the next question: explicate communitarian conception of justice. Here the demand is you first tell about communitarians, that communitarians give importance to community. Communitarianism is a criticism of liberalism. You can make a comparison between libertarians and communitarians, the concept of self, the concept of particularism, politics of community, and the conception of common good. And then, because they are asking straightforward question, communitarian conception of justice, give the detailed view of Michael Walzer's theory of justice, where he is emphasizing on the importance of community, and Michael Michael Sandel emphasizing on importance of community in his book Spheres of Justice, and then Michael Walzer's book, which emphasize on the spheres of justice and the necessity to recognize the differences. Now, question number 4, examine the relationship between liberty, equality, and justice. You can first of all tell that these are the three very important values on which political philosophers have debated, and then you can this relationship can be understood only through the school of thought. So, first starting with the so-called classical liberalism, libertarianism, and neoliberalism. Their conception of justice is where, or their view of liberty, where they talk about liberty in terms of absence of state interference, and they limit themselves only to the equality before law and equality of opportunity, and they believe that state intervention for the sake of social economic equality reduces the liberty, and the best perspective can be understood through Nozick's theory, entitlement theory of justice, where Nozick suggests that only night watchman state is good and fair, and he believes that the only role of a state is to show whether the property is acquired in the right manner, and a state should not go for doing anything for achieving justice in the sense bringing social and economic equality. You can also bring the argument of Hayek and Milton Friedman. Next argument and the position you can represent is that of the Marxist, and Karl Marx believed that liberty in a capitalist societies is a false consciousness, and Karl Marx believed that real freedom is freedom from necessities. Marxism talks about not just procedural equality of opportunity and equality before law, but the substantive equality in terms of social and economic equality, and only this is the basis for justice, when the society and the system of justice or the distributive justice where people get according to their needs. Then you can bring the third point of view represented by the positive liberals and social liberals, who modify the concept of liberty and talk about positive liberty, make it more compatible with the social and economic equality, who propose affirmative action to bring a level playing field in the society, and whose idea of justice as represented in the works of Rawls that tries to make an equilibrium between desert, merit, and needs. Let us discuss question number 5, relevance of multicultural perspective of rights. So here you can discuss first of all the importance of the concept of rights, and then you can talk about the debate with respect to the conception of rights. According to the liberals, there has to be a universal scheme of rights, and that is also the basis of the doctrine of human rights and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The conception of universalism is also linked to the universal conception of universal citizenship. Against the liberals' idea of universalism comes the multicultural perspective, and scholars like Will Kimmelka and Bhikkhu Parekh, they suggest to adopt the multicultural approach towards the rights. Will Kimmelka's theory is linked to the rights of the minorities and the other national minorities as well as the non-dominant sections of the society, where Will Kimmelka talks about the special rights that should be given to the minorities. The special rights include the self-governance rights, ethnic rights, and special representation rights. However, Will Kimmelka is not willing to give equal set of rights to the immigrants and simply limit these things to the national minorities and the non-dominant sections. Bhikkhu Parekh gives the more multicultural approach, and Bhikkhu Parekh suggests that we should not be making a difference between the national minorities and immigrants when we are giving these special rights. So from multicultural perspective, we have to have the idea of differentiated citizenship, and the concept of universal rights may not work in the age of globalization. From multicultural perspective, what we can do is like uh, societies, they should give importance to person's culture, because culture is a very important part of person's personality. And then you can also mention that the approach of Indian constitution has always been multicultural. Our constitution provides the special protection to the minorities with respect to the protection of their culture. They give, our constitution gives also the educational rights to minorities. Our constitution has provided for a special representation for the tribals, the non-dominant sections like Dalits, and in some states the provisions like fifth schedule, sixth schedule do exist. So Indian constitution is one of the earliest constitution incorporating the idea of multicultural citizenship and multicultural approach to rights, actually much before the Western scholars like Kimlicka giving his theory. Now the next question is question number 6. Discuss the relationship between development and democracy. So you have to bring first of all that why this issue comes into picture, because in case of the development of the post-colonial societies, there has been a debate whether democracy is suitable or not. The problem is that some people believe that democracy delays the process of decision making, and hence instead of democracy, authoritarianism or soft authoritarianism is a better model. The soft authoritarianism model or the guided democracies exist in Southeast Asia. The debate also revolves around the India's model of development and Chinese model of development. The two major uh, schools of thought, one led by Lee Kuan Yew, who has appreciated the Chinese model and who believes that for countries, post-colonial countries, first priority is reform and the Chinese model is a better approach, whereas Amartya Sen, you should bring the ideas of Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen believes that we need to understand the concept of development. Growth alone cannot be a development, and Amartya Sen believes that democracies have a better record for development, and not only democracy is a prerequisite for development, but the benefits of development also needs to be democratized. However, the debate remains unending, but it seems that the second argument is a stronger argument, because there are what does the evidences suggest that democracies have done much better in general than the autocracies. Now, question number 7. Write short note on participatory democracy, and second part of this is deliberative democracy. So you can write about that participatory democracy is a direct democracy, and the direct democracy, the main persons making a cause for direct democracy starts from Rousseau. Besides Rousseau, you can also give the example of Gandhi, M.N. Roy, Jayaprakash Narayan, because without people's participation, actually the democracy may not achieve its result. The objective of democracy is empowerment of the people, and for that direct participation is required. And around the world, all major policy documents on good governance today talk about the importance of participation in democracy. If you want, you can mention that 73rd and 74th Amendment Act are considered as revolutionary in case of Indian Constitution, because it is a constitutional recognition to the idea of participatory democracy. Next is a deliberative democracy. You can mention that the idea of deliberative democracy comes from scholars like Aristotle, J.S. Mill, Hannah Arendt. It has been developed by the scholars like Joshua Cohen as well as scholars like Habermas. And the idea behind deliberative democracy is to emphasize that democracy should not be considered as the game of number or tyranny of majority. Democracy is actually about the right argument. Democracy is about the debate, and without debate, dialectics, it's not possible to achieve to a right side of policy. Scholars like Habermas, who talks about ideal speech situation, Joshua Cohen, who has given the features of deliberative democracy, even Amartya Sen, who talks about the public reasoning, they all emphasize on the necessity to make democracy deliberative, and this has been one of the major concern. So even participatory democracy has to be deliberative. Now the next question is write a short note on affirmative action. So you can write about what is affirmative action. You can write that in every society certain sections may not be or have been historically disadvantaged. So comes the idea of affirmative action, and affirmative action is a positive discrimination. You should show the difference between affirmative action and reverse discrimination and affirmative action as well as preferential policies. And the purpose of affirmative action is to establish the level playing field in the society. And you can also give example if you want from Indian Constitution creating scope for affirmative action. There are criticisms for against affirmative action that it compromises merit, but at the same time it is necessary that there's internal these catalysts have to be provided so that those who are historically disadvantaged, they can come at par with the so-called forward section of the society. Now 8th B, natural rights are nonsense, nonsense about the Stills Bentham. Here you tell about uh, Bentham's school of thought. He is utilitarian, and utilitarians follow Hobbesian tradition, and Hobbes has given the legal theory of rights. Then you should define what are natural rights. So it is an assumption that man is born with certain rights and which are fundamental to the existence. John Locke is one of the earliest scholars talking about the natural rights. However, Bentham believes that natural rights are nonsense, and nonsense upon the stills means they do not have any real importance. Similarly, Edmund Burke has also held that natural rights are nothing but metaphysical abstractions, and the scholars belonging to this school of thought think that only when state comes into existence, state establish law and order, then only it is possible to enjoy the rights. And they believe that Bentham actually believes that natural rights is a dangerous concept because it can give rise to the anarchy. And his idea on natural rights he has described in his paper titled Anarchical Fallacies. I hope this discussion will help you, and you are also provided with the model answer, and with the both of these you can understand that what should have been the expectations from this questions. Thank you.